Thank you for joining us on the Spin Room. I'm your host, Ami Kaufman. Today we are welcoming back to the show Israeli Knesset member from the Zionist Union and Deputy Speaker of Parliament, חיליק bar. Thank you, sir, for coming on the show again. It's
nice to be here again. Thank you very much.
In studio to partake in the discussion today are former Israeli ambassador to France, Daniel Sheck, and the editor of the online English magazine Midah, Daniel Seaman. It is good to see you both. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Our four topics of discussion today with Deputy Speaker of Parliament are reports that Germany is mediating between Israel and Hamas. We'll then discuss the deportation of a Jewish-American pro-Palestinian activist from Israel and her tinkering with the idea to immigrate to Israel. Afterwards, we'll tackle the renewed discussion over Poland's controversial Holocaust law, and we'll end with some Israeli politics, particularly the dire situation in which our guest party, the Zionist Union, is in today. Okay, let's go to our first topic. The Saudi-based newspaper Al Hayat reported today that the German government is mediating indirect negotiations between Israel and Hamas regarding a possible prisoner exchange deal. If a deal is reached, the paper reports, Egypt will facilitate the exchange. Germany and Egypt were previously involved in the deal for IDF soldier Gilad Shalit in exchange for over 1,000 Palestinian security prisoners in 2011. Currently, 2 Israeli civilians who are said to be mentally ill and who entered Gaza of their own volition in 2014 and 15 respectively are being held by Hamas, along with the remains of 2 IDF soldiers, Hadar Goldin and Oron Shaul. Hamas seeks to secure the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli prisons, but has denied the report in Al Hayat. Let's listen to what Leah Goldin, the mother of Hadar, said just a few hours ago to the host of the Daily Dose, Jeff Smith, on this report in Arabic media.
Those slogans, we do our best efforts. There are things that are behind screens. You are in my heart. This is a great coverage for not doing anything. And now more than ever. So for whatever it means about this report, you should approach Bibi Netanyahu. For us, it's nothing. And especially now that we are entering the days of memorials for all those that that were killed during Operation Protective Edge. This is much more serious and much more hurting to use our feelings and to try to imitate as if something is going on. We don't believe it. Until it's done, it's done. And when it will be done, you will hear it after it's done, and not like those rumors reported by Arabian reporters.
So Leah says it is rumors from the Arabic media. Hamas officials have also denied these reports. It also says it won't agree to a deal without guarantee that its prisoners will be released. Do you see how Netanyahu can overcome, pressure from voters from his base and release prisoners after the trauma of the Shalit deal?
No, this is a big moral dilemma for the Prime Minister, but I totally understand the Goldin and Shaul families. And as you know, I'm leading in the Knesset the effort to also release Avera Mengistu, that is in the hand of Hamas. We just had a very big conference in the Knesset these days, but I think that the entire management or our relations with Hamas is they are doing it in a very, very amateur way. I think, we're saying the entire Gaza, it's like putting a bandage on cancer. There is no long-term policy. Hamas knows it. They are playing on it. And again, we're saying that we're not speaking with Hamas, but we're speaking with Hamas. I remember one minister that said that he will, or one prime minister that said that he will be strong against Hamas, but actually what we see that he's strong against Abbas and very, very weak.
But what would you do differently to get the bodies back of Hadar and
I don't know the deal. I don't know what they offer. I don't know what the German. I don't know if they release.
If there was another deal for another 1,000 soldiers, another 1,000 prisoners, Hamas prisoners, would you?
I would be against.
You would be against that.
I would be against. By the way, I would include Avera Mengistu anyway in this deal because he's alive, Israeli.
Yes.
Not that I underestimate.
We haven't heard any reports otherwise that he's dead. So
yeah, and we have reports
alive
from the Red Cross that he's alive. So I would include his name to this package. But 1,000 prisoners that going back to the circle of terror again and again is something that we should really think about.
Daniel Sheck, would a prisoner swap deal with Hamas, maybe ease tension with Gaza, or maybe open a door for talks between the two sides?
I'm not sure there's a direct connection because the pressure in Gaza is not just the result of the prisoner issue. It's the result of a very very dire humanitarian situation, an impossible economic situation. So those are two different avenues to go, although I tend to agree with MK חיליק bar that a general policy towards creating some kind of livable environment in Gaza would be helpful for everything. But on this specific issue of release of prisoners or a prisoner swap, I don't think that there is, unfortunately, a direct connection. Even if we do provide some kind of humanitarian relief, I don't think that it will turn Hamas more amiable to such a deal.
Would you agree with that assessment? And also, how far do you think Israel should go to get back these bodies and the two Israeli citizens who are held?
First off, whether or not Germany was involved in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised that that's what's happening right now. Yes, I don't know if that's true or not, but it could be. Talking with Hamas, yes, we should talk with them, but we should talk with them in the language they understand. The language they understand is not appeasement. The language they sound is brute force. And in this case, there are many things that we can do. Unfortunately, some of these things would make the population there uncomfortable, but there's also things that we can do directly with the Hamas leadership. And the moment we make them pay a price...
Be more specific about that.
Uncomfortable is quite a whitewashed word, I would say. It would make them dead.
You can take out the Hamas leadership.
No, I'm talking about the heads of Hamas. The population, it would make them uncomfortable.
And we're not die in the process.
So can we just lose the ambiguity and say to assassinate Hamas leaders?
The leader of Hamas right now is behind the policy that they have of evoking a price from the state of Israel.
Hamas leaders? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, if it helps to prevent terror in Israel, definitely. And I want to say another something. I think we have an opportunity, a very narrow window here, because the life of the Gazan people are not uncomfortable. They are miserable. They are suffering, and of course we are suffering in Israel. We cannot allow our citizens blue sky, free of rockets and terror kites. I think that Israel should go to the moderate Arab world, to Egypt, and to Germany, and to Hamas leaders, and tell them it's all or nothing, or we are going to a real deep demilitarization of Gaza, and in exchange we will develop Gaza. We will allow you real good life, or nothing, because we cannot trust you.
Yeah, regarding Mengistu, there are other people who can put pressure on them. The Black Lives Matter in the United States have aligned themselves with the Palestinian so-called cause. Why are they not trying to help a black man, or does his life not matter? Mengistu, who is mentally unstable, he has everything they claim to want to support. And why aren't they doing something to put pressure on the Hamas, their allies, and trying to get this black man free? Maybe because he's Jewish, and maybe because they're racist.
To do that? I mean,
because they know how to speak up against Israel. Let them speak in favor
to somewhere else. You know, it's a different organization. They're in the States. Why did maybe things are done here first?
They've been here to evoke support for the Palestinian cause. Let them get involved.
By the way, I will say something worse. Even here in Israel, and I said it publicly before, I think that if Avera Mengistu, you talk about black Jew, if his name was different and his color was different, I think that the treatment from the government and the Israeli society.
So that goes against what Daniel just said.
I don't agree with that. It's not because of his name or that. It's because he's not a soldier, and because he did it on his own.
We had non-soldiers before, as
I agree with you.
Remember.
I agree with you.
The entire social awareness and the entire efforts was different.
But I think after Gilad Shalit, this has changed. The attitude in Israel has changed, not because of him.
There are reports that Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, has gone to hospital for a checkup today. You know, more worry about his health, that he might be leaving the stage soon. Did Israel miss an opportunity with him, or could Abbas leaving the stage actually be a new opportunity?
I always said that, you know, the no-partner claim of the government is a very defeatist one. I agree with the right wing that Abbas is not a perfect partner. He's far from being a perfect partner, but he's the partner, unless it will be a Hamas. And if the Israeli government thinks that one day we will have a Palestinian president who will be a great Zionist and will have the pictures of Ben Gurion and Herzl in his desk, they are wrong. I think that we could make him a better partner and do a deal with him much better than those who will come after him and Hamas,
Speaking of talks, before we go for our break, really quick, I want to show some pictures that you were just recently in Oxford University, correct me if I'm wrong, having a debate on this issue, on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. How'd it go?
It wasn't exactly, it was very good. I won the debate.
You won the debate?
Very rare to win a debate.
Here's some pictures from it,
as an Israeli in the Oxford Union, which is the most prestigious club for debate. It wasn't exactly on the Israeli-Palestinian. It was about our option to be as a democracy, Israel in the Middle East. And of course, I advocated for that. And we won the debate, which is great news.
Excellent. Good for you. Well done. We have to go for a commercial break. When we come back, more with the Deputy Speaker of the Israeli Parliament, חיליק bar. Stay with us.
I'm Michelle McCory on i24 News. Join me on Clear Cut, where we cut to the chase with a straightforward yet insightful breakdown of the world's top political and economic stories.
Weeknights beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on i24 News.
i24 News.
I'm Lauren Izzo on i24 News. Join me on high definition right here for an in-depth understanding of Israel's diverse society in groundbreaking documentaries.
We're back on the Spinroom with opposition member of parliament חיליק of the Zionist Union. And we're now moving on to our next topic, and that is BDS, the Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions movement against Israel. Ariel Gold, the American Jew who was deported back to the U.S. as she entered Israel because of her support for BDS, told me here on the Spinroom on Tuesday that she is considering making Aliyah, which means becoming an Israeli citizen. Yesterday, a prominent pundit, Ben-Dror Yemini, told me here he would support changing the law of return to block people like Gold from becoming citizens. Let's have a listen. Are you going to make Aliyah?
It's a possibility.
Really? You're thinking about it?
But again, Israel claims to be a place where Jews should visit, where we should be encouraged to visit. And criticism of the government is not anti-Jewish at all.
Let's now bring it to the law of return, which allows any Jew, to come and make Aliyah, which means become an Israeli citizen. So would you guys be against this person becoming a citizen of Israel?
Totally, definitely.
That would mean changing the law of return,
of course.
wouldn't it?
No,
You would have to change the law in order
maybe,
to
I mean, if it will be necessary to change the law, we should
so
change the law.
So that would mean changing the law to allow Jews that only agree with your point of view.
No, it's not, no, don't tack it to this kind of. What I'm saying is that if a Jew is coming to Israel in order to destroy Israel from the inside, he should not be allowed. First of all, common sense. After, let's go to the law.
First of all, common sense, Ben-Dror Yemini says. Would you have a problem like Ben-Dror Yemini of Ariel Gold, that BDS activist, immigrating to Israel, making Aliyah?
I'll tell you two things, and I appreciate Ben-Dror highly. The BDS is a hypocrite, very wrong organization that don't want peace. They don't want two-state solution. I'm leading the two-state solution caucus at the Knesset. They want the elimination of Israel. They want to kick us all out of here. And as a BDS activist, you shouldn't enter Israel. However, I don't think that because of these kind of cases, we should change the law and differ between this Jew or that Jew if there is...
The law of return.
The law of return, the law of return allow every Jew whatsoever, if he is a Jew, to enter Israel, to make immigration and to be our citizen. There is law against activity in Israel. If you incite, if you are collaborating with terror, if she will be an Israeli and will continue this kind of behavior, she will be arrested, I guess, after a few months of citizenship. But to not allow her...
It was Israel that gave her the visa to come here.
Okay, maybe it's wrong. As not a citizen, but
as an
if
American,
you will,
she doesn't need a visa.
Yeah, but if you will,
it was a student visa. She was told. I want to correct you guys. She was told last time she was here. She made some trouble, so you have to come back here with a student visa.
Okay.
She came with a student visa that was required.
One more thing. I think that it's very dangerous if Israel will decide. What will be the differences between each Jew? Because if you are starting it, you don't know where it will go, Daniel, and this is very dangerous.
Would you have a problem with Ariel Gold making Aliyah, becoming an Israeli citizen?
Look, the Minister of Interior has the discretion to decide on that, on particular issues, and they've already done it once in the history of the State of Israel with Meir Lansky of the Jewish Mafia in the United States. The Jewish Mafia,
a convicted felon,
in the creation of the State of Israel. They helped with smuggling, they helped with weapons, they were very pro-creation of the State of Israel. These are people actually contributed to something, whereas she has contributed nothing, neither to peace nor to the Jewish people. But
so she was a convicted felon. Meir Lansky was a convicted felon.
There have been other felons allowed into the State of Israel, and they had a particular political issue with him. They could have the same thing with her. She's not coming with the intention of making Aliyah. She's coming in order to provoke and create problems here. They should block her from entering Israel. Period.
They should block her.
And you don't need to change the law for that at all.
With this, maybe I don't know. Not changing the law.
You don't need to change the law. I wouldn't change the law. I agree with you.
I think the greatest service that we're doing to the BDS movement is the whole noise that we're creating by this debate around it. Believe me, there is no bigger sign of weakness than this overreaction about these individual cases of this or that person. Had we let her in, or had we not made such a big noise, just let her in, and she would go unnoticed. And what would be the point of her being here?
Who makes the noise?
I don't know. Right-wing politician.
I'll tell you who makes the noise. The people who took credit for barring her entry at the airport go to Twitter. Minister of Strategic Affairs Gilad Erdan.
Okay, great.
And the Interior Minister that you mentioned before,
because I think the greatest success of the BDS movement is driving the state of Israel crazy. They have no other real, tangible results in their movement. And it's just a sign of weakness of the state of Israel that we can't, suffer. We can't just accept such a person who will come here. And as חיליק said, if she breaks the law in Israel, she'll be arrested and tried. So what's the big deal?
These people aren't arrested in Israel.
What I want to ask you,
they don't arrest them.
But Daniel, what I want to ask you quickly,
the problem is that the law is not being enforced, and that's not a problem for her. That's a general problem.
But we had this debate when we were in government.
To change the foreign ministry and the prime minister's office for this idiotic story.
And I agree with Daniel about one thing. Half of the things that you know about BDS is because the reactions that Israel is providing.
But let me ask you this, Daniel. Let's say you don't change the law of return, and she wants to make aliyah. Would you be supportive of barring her from making aliyah?
No.
You think she has the right?
If everybody else in her personal situation has the right, then she has the right.
She has the right too.
And then once she is an Israeli, she is under Israeli law. And if she breaks the law,
he doesn't want to let her make aliyah.
Look, the thing is this: so we've had this debate over how much noise are we allowing the BDS. When he was with the foreign ministry, I was with the prime minister's office. I didn't see things eye to eye. Foreign ministry always thought that we're the ones that are giving them credit and attention. I agree with you that the government should stop tweeting and stop using Facebook. Shut up and do your job. Let the government.
Doesn't seem like a plausible option.
I know, but they should let the government authorities who are supposed to do that instruct them not to let her in like they did. Keep quiet about it. And the other thing is that they shouldn't let her make aliyah to Israel. Period. Because she's not coming here from. She's not under duress. She's not being persecuted in the United States, and she's not coming here to be an Israeli citizen. She's coming here to provoke.
By the way, changing the law or not allowing her citizenship is like saying that you will take Israeli citizenship from Israeli BDS activists, which we have.
So would you deny their citizenship? You know how difficult it is. They can't even take it away from the member of Knesset who betrayed the state of Israel, and the Knesset isn't allowing that.
Slightly different topic, though, but it's somewhat similar. Speaking about pressure from the outside, because kind of like the BDS is pressure from the outside. The UN and the EU have urged Israel to stop the demolition of the illegal Bedouin village, Khan al-Ahmar, in the West Bank. The J Street organization said it was outraged by the Israeli government's dispatch of bulldozers. That's their quote. What's your response to this demolition of this village?
I think it's a stupid thing that Israel is doing. They are there for years. We should arrange it. We are making them literally an anti-Israeli Palestinian supporters when they were part of the Israeli society, lived here quietly for 70 years, and now they're feeling much more pro-Palestinian, hate the Israelis. I'm not saying that we should allow them stay there in their tents and temporary houses along the road. They're willing, by the way, I discussed it today, by mistake, I discussed it today, they're willing to go somewhere else, but the state are not do not talk with them, and again we should go toward a plan and not just to kick them out and tell them nothing.
Your response to that?
My question is that we have separate laws for Jews and Arabs in this country. If the laws are equal and the laws are the same for everybody, just like they took down illegal construction in Jewish communities and settlements in Judea and Samaria,
they take down
but they also legalized the settlements.
We are able to legalize settlements in the territories, but we are not able to legalize people who lived here for 70 years in one way or another. There's no reason. There's no justification.
Why? If you apply the laws equally, they violated the law, just like they'll take away construction.
Would love to have the same kind of application of law like the settlers in the.
But they're Bedouin. They're supposed to be transient.
Now you'll decide.
They're Bedouin. They're Bedouin. What's the whole concept of being a Bedouin?
Oh, come on.
But that's what Bedouins are all about, or am I mistaken about that?
Look about what happened in Rahat and other Bedouin cities. We can make this kind of thing for them, but nobody's talking to them and telling them what will happen.
We have to go for another commercial break. When we come back, more with Deputy Speaker of the Israeli Parliament, חיליק Bar. Stay with us.
coffee, honey?
Roku Express. Now 500,000 movies and TV episodes? This is the ultimate streaming adventure.
Jack. Oh, great choice. Hey, where's my coffee?
Our world is becoming increasingly connected. 6.5 million Wi-Fi enabled devices are now shipping every day, and global consumer internet traffic is growing exponentially. We are creating breakthrough technologies that connect millions of people and billions of devices. And as we collaborate with the world's leading service and content providers, we're transforming the way billions of people connect to their digital world, securing our place as the most trusted business in technology. We are Eris, and we're powering your digital world.
What you need to know, the news, fast and to the point, and the in-depth interviews that will keep you in your seat from the people that you trust. i24 News presents The New Rundown. Co-hosted by Nurit Ben and Kalev Ben David. Only on i24 News.
Unflinching, opinionated. Weeknights, David Schuster and Shayna Estulin bring you analysis, interviews, and opinions that connect us to the Middle East and the world. Watch Crossroads weeknights starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on i24 News.
We're back on the Spinroom with opposition member of parliament חיליק Bar of the Zionist Union. And moving now to our third topic is Israel's decision to mend ties with Poland over its controversial Holocaust bill, which stipulated fines and jail sentences of up to 3 years for individuals who, quote, publicly and in denial of the facts, blame Poles or the Polish state for carrying full or partial responsibility for crimes committed by Nazi Germany. Israel and other countries voiced their outrage, and 6 months later, Poland revised the law and cut any reference to possible jail sentences. However, the Holocaust Remembrance Center in Jerusalem, Yad Vashem, is saying today that despite a joint statement of the Israeli and Polish prime ministers this week hailing the changes to the bill, the legal battles against historians and other Holocaust researchers will continue. One academic, Professor Yuda Bauer, advisor to the Yad Vashem Museum, took it one step further, saying Israel committed a betrayal when it ended its diplomatic row with Poland over the bill that still exposes, theoretically, people who blame Poles for Nazi crimes to lawsuits in civil court. And the leader of the Jewish Home Party, Minister of Education, Naftali Bennett, today called the agreement a disgrace. We're going to show, by the way, the ads that were put in Israeli papers and Polish papers of this joint statement that I mentioned between the Polish and Israeli prime ministers, where they said, we have always agreed that the term Polish concentration and death camps is blatantly erroneous and diminishes the responsibility of Germans for establishing those camps. That's what got everybody pretty angry. What do you think? Has Israel caved in to this Polish distortion of history, as some people are calling it?
Well, first, you know that I'm leading the friendship group between the Knesset and the Polish parliament. And it is because of my Polish roots, and I was there many, many times and told Prime Minister Morawiecki, and just this month, the Minister of Entrepreneurship of Poland that visited Israel, that this law and this bill was a disgrace. And they promised in a way from the beginning with that it will not stay. It will be disqualified and cancelled by the High Court, or what they just did in this deal together with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I think that it's good, and it's a very good achievement that Prime Minister Netanyahu helped to cancel this bill, because this bill would cause a bigger damage. What happened, and I don't necessarily understand with Minister Bennett, I think that if this bill would become a reality in Poland, and we would start with the lawsuits over and hunting Jews that's speaking against Poland, the anti-Semitism of Poland, in Poland, against Jewish people.
Sir, I got to say, you sound like a rare voice today, because the Yad Vashem, all these experts at Yad Vashem at this Holocaust museum are saying it's erroneous. Even people from your party, Itzik Shmuley, says that Netanyahu's joint statement with the Prime Minister, Polish Prime Minister, empowers Holocaust deniers. He said that Holocaust deniers should, quote, send flowers to the Israeli government and the man leading it. You really seem to disagree with pretty much everyone
I have
today.
to tell you that I didn't listen to every word in the joint statement, but I don't think that Prime Minister Netanyahu have any intention to whiten crimes that was made by Polish people in the government. What I'm saying is what was the alternative. The alternative was to go all the way with this bill and start a process of hunting Jews around the world that speaks against Poland. And there is things to say about Polish in the world. No one is blaming Poland for launching the Holocaust. It was the German Nazis. No. But to mention a specific action that was done by Poland during the war, it's okay. It happened before, and it would happen anyway, regardless to this bill. But come on,
Daniel, should Israel rethink this joint statement?
Look, there's a joint statement and there's the agreement. I don't know exactly what the agreement says, but the joint statement is very problematic.
Tell me
telling in the same sentence talking about fighting anti-Semitism and fighting anti-Polishness is just not acceptable. Those are two. It's like talking about two things like that. And the Poles have a case that some injustice has been made in public discourse in Israel and around the world about their responsibility or non-responsibility, but you still can't put it on the same level as fighting anti-Semitism, something that is deeply rooted in Polish culture for centuries. It's just not possible. Now, if that was an isolated hiccup, would be one thing. It happens. The Prime Minister didn't read it, his team didn't translate it. You can always find something. But there is a context. And the context is that we tend to be a little bit too lenient with European governments that are allies to Israel, and it's important that they are political allies to Israel, a bit too compromising on the responsibility that we as the Jewish state also have towards the Jewish people and Jewish heritage. You cannot compromise fighting anti-Semitism just because you want the Poles to help us in the UN.
Is that what's been done? Compromising anti-Semitism? Just to get closer to the Polish government, who, for example, might move its embassy to Jerusalem. And
I don't think the embassy is the issue here, but they are.
Really?
Yeah, they are.
Getting close. What?
No, I tend to agree. I don't think it's on the table. I don't think it's on the table.
They may or may not. That's irrelevant to this particular issue, but I agree with everything that both חיליק and Danny said about this here. It's.
What do you make about what I started to mention about this Israeli coalition getting very close to more right-wing governments, particularly in Eastern Europe?
We have joint interests, not only for the support of Israel, international support of Israel, but also the problem that they're experiencing with the rise of Islam right now is something that certainly they're concerned about, and we should be concerned about because it affects Israel's international relations.
How do you feel about that? And sometimes people say that it comes at the expense of relations with our traditional Western European allies, getting close to these populist governments in Eastern Europe.
Well, it depends what government, and this is an elected government. And
the Visegrad,
members of the EU. I mean, we can't be more. I'm not saying we should not have contacts with. I may not like them personally, and honestly, I don't.
Okay,
but it doesn't matter. There are interests here, and we do have relations with them.
And I don't think that this comparison is okay. They are the elected government in Poland. Poland is becoming more and more important state in the EU. I think we should try and strengthen the relations between, not on the expense of fighting anti-Semitism, and the test will be the test of the reality on the ground.
Okay, relations with the Palestinian Authority, and they're far worse than these European governments.
All right, we have to go for a break. When we come back, more with Deputy Speaker of the Israeli Parliament, חיליק Bar. Stay with us.
The Middle East, cradle of civilization, epicenter of the major crisis and conflicts that affect our world today. I24 News is a witness. Our journalists live and breathe there every day. Get all the latest from our studios in Tel Aviv, New York, Washington, and Paris, as news happens where it happens. I24 News. See beyond.
Strictly Security. Your weekly look into security, intelligence, and strategic affairs. Our team brings the latest on the major international conflicts. Analysis of the major security issues right here in the Middle East and around the globe. Join us for a close look at innovative military technology and get up to speed with what's happening in cyberspace. Saturdays only on I24 News. In the Holy Land, there are wonders most people never get to see. i24 News will take you inside the shadows and unravel the secrets of some of the world's most revered sites in a way you've never experienced. All access from every angle. Tune in to Sacred Sites 360, Sunday 9 p.m. Eastern, only on i24 News.
What you need to know, the news, fast and to the point, and the in-depth interviews that will keep you in your seat from the people that you trust. i24 News presents The New Rundown. Co-hosted by Nurit Ben and Kalev Ben David. Only on i24 News. We're back on the Spinroom with Opposition Member of Parliament חיליק of the Zionist Union, and our last topic of the day is Israeli politics and the state of the Zionist Union, the party that our guest belongs to. The current leader of the party, Avi Gabay, has not been able to pose any sort of threat to Netanyahu's rules. We can see on these polls he's at about 12 seats, according to one of the more recent polls of Netanyahu in 21. And new polls show that a former chief of staff of the Israeli army, Benny Gantz, might have a better chance. Look at this one, 24, according to that poll. That's twice as much as the current leader has.
First, I think that Benny Gantz is more than welcome, and I called him before to become one of the leading team of the Zionist
Maybe
Union.
He should become the leader.
No, because we had an elections for leader. By the way, I didn't endorse Avi Gabay, I endorsed Amir Peretz, but once he was elected, and this is what 60,000 members, 30,000 members wanted, we're a democratic party, and we will respect that. Now, I can tell you one thing, Ami.
But isn't his time up? I
No.
mean, No?
No.
He hasn't been there for a year.
Look,
But look,
not only
I'm
that.
just saying, no, he hasn't been there for a year. I agree with that, but he's doing very poorly. I mean, even a lot more poorly than people expected.
I want to remind you that 3 months before the last general election, Isaac Herzog, my good friend, was 14, 15 seats, and we ended with 24, almost winning an election. There is a sport, a very not elegant sport, to say that the last nail on the coffin of the Labour Party was, you know, it's not the case, and I think that the center-left camp expecting from the Labour Party to lead an alternative. This is what we're doing. We're facing a tough time. By the way, some of it because of mistakes that Avi Gabay admitted that he do some sayings. I think that we shouldn't execute him.
Does he still have the backing of the party, like you were giving him now?
Yeah, I think that most, even all of the members of Knesset,
really?
you know, beside the last fight that he had with Amir Peretz over technical issues of the party Congress, I think that all of us throughout the last year gave him back support. I think and hope it will be the case for the time to come, and it's the only option, because again, I don't believe that Lapid or any other alternative could be an alternative for Netanyahu beside the Labour. With Benny Gantz, I hope it will be easier, but even without, I'm very optimistic.
What is the problem of the Zionist Union? Because I'm not sure it's only, as חיליק Bar says here, that it's only because of a few mistakes that Gabay has admitted to. I think that's part of it. What do you think? Is it only that?
No. They've lost their way, and they have no way to offer the public. They had a way. They were a Zionist party, very important party in the establishment and the rebirth of the state of Israel and the Jewish state of Israel. But somewhere along the line, especially with Oslo, they lost their way. And it was first not Oslo itself. The process of Oslo, wanting to have peace, was great. We all hoped, even I, who am very right-wing, support the Likud, I asked, maybe we were wrong. Let's give it a chance. What was wrong was not holding the other side to task, not demanding that they uphold their part. They were more important for them to get the peace, supposedly, without making sure that there was real peace. And since then, they continued supporting this without offering the Israeli public that buses exploding, restaurants are exploding, missiles on your head, have a way of making people realize that they don't want this peace because the other side doesn't want peace. Instead of addressing that and bringing an alternative, a real alternative to the Israeli people, they're not doing that. That's the way I see it.
All the terror, all the missiles that you just mentioned are in the blame of the right-wing government. We're not running this show for the last 40 years. It's like
giving the Palestinians the ability to do it.
You can put everything on Oslo, and I know that the right-wing love to do it, but you know, the right-wing is always challenging our Zionism. I think that we're much, much, much more Zionist of a party than the right-wing that will lead us slowly to a binational one state, which is the biggest threat on the Zionist idea that makes us promise a Jewish majority. And this defeatist attitude of managing the conflict instead of what leaders used to do, like Menachem Begin and Yitzhak Rabin, to try and solve it. This is the true non-Zionism.
We've learned that the compromises don't work. We can no longer give up territory.
Well, we had a compromise with Egypt. It worked quite well.
But that was a country that wanted peace with us, unlike the Arabs.
If you said compromise doesn't work, that's an overstatement.
Bring us back a little more to the numbers and why we're seeing such consistently.
I just want to make sure that my friend Danny Seaman wasn't misunderstood when he said that it was a Zionist party, that you didn't mean that it's not a Zionist party today. No, you didn't mean that.
No,
okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Among them, unfortunately, who are drawing them away from it.
Just wanted to make sure.
Go ahead.
But look, in modern politics, it's a strange situation. The most successful players are those that are not on the field. And that's why the polling for Benny Gantz, for Gabi Ashkenazi, for all sorts of people
military people,
are skyrocketing.
Is it proof that it's all about security at the end of the day?
I might remind you that Avi Gabay, before he entered politics, he had great polling too. It was one of the reasons why Chilik's friends in the Labour Party, the members of the Labour Party, which I'm one of, voted massively in favor of him. Once you're in it, it's more difficult, and I am prepared to suffer. There's no other word. Another year or two of difficult polling, and to have to give your leader some kind of chance of doing it. And trying to copy Likud won't bring us. I'm of those who believe that a party needs to distinguish itself.
Is that what Avi Gabay is doing?
I think he's distinguishing.
Really?
Yeah.
Someone argue.
He didn't do it in the beginning, but I think he understood.
And now he is?
Yes, and he may be paying a price, but maybe in a few years it will pay off.
The problem with Avi Gabay at the beginning, and he admitted it, is that he didn't really quite understand the base of his voters. And I think that he understands more and more both the base and, second, how to defer himself as an alternative to Netanyahu.
He won't be a better Netanyahu than Netanyahu.
He never talked at the beginning about the two-state solution. Now he's talking about a two-state solution, and he's talking more about security and defense issue as a candidate to prime minister. And I think that if we will give him the chance and support him, united together, you will see slowly.
And you don't forget, there's only one poll that counts. It's on election day.
Well, there's another thing that people don't like to mention. That is the inherent racism among members of the Labour Party, the old Ashkenazi elite, who, for them, it's a bit difficult having a Sephardic, non-Ashkenazi Jew lead the party. I'm sorry to say that.
This is amazing to hear from a Likud supporter.
Yes.
The Likud, the Mizrahi party never had a Mizrahi. Just a second. Never had, and I don't know when.
But they support the Likud.
Excuse me, that's a very tough thing I want to remember. And they had candidates, like Silvan Shalom, Meir Shitrit, and other. They were all number 2, 3, and 10. It was always an Ashkenazi. Avi Gabay is the third Mizrahi chairman, leader that sit on the Ashkenazi chair of Ben Gurion and Golda Meir. We had Fuad Ben Eliezer, we had Amir Peretz, and we have Avi Gabay.
So with all the support of your political base, once they were elected, they moved to the left.
No, but they
moved to the other parties.
The Labour Party about racism.
Lecture or not, the racism is a fact.
No, it's not a fact.
Their racism against the Olim from Mizrahi,
from the many of them have led the party.
We're going to have to end. exactly
guys. That's all the time we have. That's all the time we have. All the time we have. I want to thank our panelists. Daniel Sheck and Danny Seaman. Thank you very much, guys. And a warm thank you to today's guest on the Spinroom, Deputy Speaker of Parliament, חיליק Bar. Always a pleasure. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll discuss the news that didn't make the news, outside news, and on Alterman. Stick around.
I'm David Schuster.
And I'm Shayna Estulin.
Join us on i24 News for our show Crossroads.
We bring you a comprehensive
and engaging
look at the global news and opinions from the crossroads of America.